All right, guys. Dreadnought's back today with a new review, and we're going to be looking at the DC Comics Multiverse 6-inch Batman Zero Batman from Mattel. It is the Collect and Connect Justice Buster Wave. Looking pretty cool here in the package. Has that same bottom cutout that we've seen before, and there he is standing up. Some nice artwork there of Batman at the bottom. Not much going on the sides. On this side, we can see a little bit of bio information. It says real name Bruce Wayne, Gotham City, high-tech gear, armored bat suit, grapnel, tricked out Batmobile. And then a look at the back of the box here reveals the collect and connect pieces for the Justice Buster that, quite honestly, I really have no interest in building. And some other figures from the wave. There's the Joker that we previously reviewed, and Superman that we'll probably review as well. And then Flash, Reverse Flash, and Arrow that I really have not a huge amount of interest in collecting. So let's get this bad boy open and get a look at him. And here's our 0-year Batman out of the packaging. Looking pretty cool overall. I gotta say, I wasn't a huge fan of this series when it came out in the comics. So I may only picked up an issue or two. It wasn't a big read for me. Not to say that it wasn't good, it just didn't interest me at the time. And I think Mattel made some good efforts here to improve what they had been doing here of late. But there's also some issues with the figure, and I'll get to those here in a moment. So let's take a closer look. And up first, taking a closer look at accessories. It comes with one of the legs from the Justice Buster Build-A-Figure. If you watch my Joker review from this wave, you know I had a lot of displeasure with this whole idea of the Justice Buster, but also with the fact that it's just very cheaply made. The same thing we saw with the other part we see here. Some nice sculpting in there, but no paint. Just two different colored plastics and very hollow, very cheap, very light. This one actually has some plastic stress points on it. And, you know, I haven't even used it or anything, but you can see all the white in there where the plastic got stressed, which, you know, looks like it's going to break and stuff on this corner, which is really horrible considering, you know, it just came out of the package. Also has, like, plastic hanging off around the seams and stuff. Just very cheaply made. I'm really disappointed with this as a Build-A-Figure in general. But he also comes with a grapnel gun, and you can see that here. It's the one we saw from the 0-year comic. You know, I'm not sure how thick it was supposed to be in the comic. I don't remember. But it seems very thin here. You guys may can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's supposed to be this thin, but it just doesn't look right. Doesn't look like a weapon Batman would have. It's very flimsy plastic, you know, all silver. And you can see the paint is flaking off on it. It's all cracked and everything on it. Which is really kind of crappy. No real detail sculpted in, you know, it's just really flat. You know, you got this circle here and a little bit of grip sculpted in, but not much going on. No paint other than the silver either. So just really, you know, not a great piece. Also doesn't fit in his hand very well. You can see how circular the hand is, and yet the gun grip is flat and square. So, I mean, you can work it in, but it actually twists it even more. And I'm afraid it causes the paint maybe to even crack on it more, so you can see how it looks in the hand. Just doesn't fit right in there, and that does fit fine in the holster down here, you know, on the side of his leg. No problems there getting it in there. And it looks pretty cool in the leg. And taking a closer look at the sculpting on Batman himself, I definitely like how the head sculpt came out. I think it came out very nice. You know, not a huge amount of sculpting work in here. Pretty plain, almost reminiscent of the pre-DC UC Batman figures they made that were in 6-inch scale, just very plain. But I like the expression on his face, and the eyes are just simply white. You know, no real paint problems on that. I think it came out pretty nice. You know, overall for what it is. And then looking down through the body, this is all hard plastic, and then it goes into the cape back here, which is a very solid hard plastic as well. And I think the cape is sculpted very nicely. Definitely like it. The only problem is it does give him a few problems standing with the weight of the cape back there. And then around the bottom here, the base of the neck down here where the cape attaches, you can see where it doesn't sit quite right on. And you can actually, it almost looks like glue around the edges where they didn't get it right on his shoulder. You can see I've got more of a gap on this side than I do here. So it's almost shifted, and it's like they tried to re-glue it down or something. I don't know. It's just not perfect. The bat symbol sculpted in on the front looks pretty cool overall. A little bit of paint missing here on the edge of the bat there. And then through the shoulders, I like that texture that's sculpted in, that ribbing. Kind of sucks that they didn't paint the joints up through here. You know, definitely looks weird when looking at it like that. And then down through the body around the sides, it has that same black ribbing, which is very nice. The back has not much going on. You know, nothing really on the belt back here. This is a rubber piece that's just on there. You know, but you got a ton of writing back here as well, which looks kind of crappy, but the cape does hide that. On the front of the belt here, you've got the yellow pockets or pouches, and I can't remember, but I believe I saw the version that DC Collectibles is putting out, and I believe they put some wear and some aging on this that made it look a lot better. This just looks very cheaply painted over with the yellow, you know, so it serves its purpose. It's just, I'm not a huge fan of it. You know, it didn't turn out very well. Looking over here at the hands, you know, I don't like the sculpting either on this hand. Looks almost cartoonish with this fist. Sculpted very well on the inside, but it's almost like there's too much plastic, and it makes him look animated series on the fist out here. I don't know how to explain that. It's just too rounded. This hand, of course, is open. You know, again, not sure why. It has that circular, I guess it's a reuse of another hand holding a circular type weapon. So it doesn't work really well for the gun that he has in there. But, you know, I like the purple they used on the gloves. Definitely from the comics, it matches pretty well, and that looks good. Looking down through the legs, that same black ribbed look, all painted very nicely all the way through. A little bit of paint missing over there, I guess. And then the belt that holds the holster here for the gun. It got real sloppy in here. You can see some black overspray and then gray underneath that didn't get painted on the top as well. So that didn't come out great. Same thing going on the back here. The knee pads look good. This one has a little bit of flat black or paint rub or something through here that makes it, you may not can tell on camera, but it actually is a different shade of black than the other four pieces here, or the other three pieces. The boots, the one thing I really like are the boots on this figure. I love the fact that they gave it some silver additions for the buckles, for the laces. And the laces are very nicely sculpted in. The boots are nicely sculpted. Has that nice tread on the bottom, which I think came out really nice, peg holes down there. But I don't think the DC Collectibles version had these, and I think I remember wishing when I saw that picture of it, thinking that I wish it did. So I like the fact that they did that on the Mattel version. So let's take a closer look at articulation. And moving our Batman around here, the head will rotate around just fine, but no movement up or down, which is a real bummer on here, especially with Batman. You need to be able to get him into those flying poses or gliding poses, and you can't move the head back or forward. Arms move out a decent amount. They'll move up like so. They do rotate all the way around. No real issues there. Upper bicep swivel. Does have a single jointed elbow, which is kind of a bummer. The wrists do rotate around, but they do have a hinge on them, and they'll hinge down like so, up like so, which is really nice. Has a decent ab crunch on him. He'll crunch forward about that far, and he will actually crunch back some as well. It does have very smooth waist rotation. And the one thing that I really liked on this figure, and some may have already seen this, but a change in the articulation around the hips. No longer do you have that weird crotch gap on this figure anyway. He actually can move out that far, and it doesn't look really weird. You can kick forward a great amount like so. Has upper leg rotation. I would have preferred it to be up here like on a Marvel Legend, but it's there, and I think it's nice. Single jointed knees, though, really bummed me out. I wish they would have given us double jointed knees. And then on the feet, you have the hinge that move down like so, up like so. They do not rotate, and they do not pivot, which is a bummer. And doing some quick comparisons, we have our 0-year Batman here compared to the DC Universe Classics Matty.com Superpowers edition of Batman over here on the right, and our most recent DC Multiverse Batfleck over here on the left. And you can see this guy scales much larger than both these guys, so he doesn't really fit into the DC Universe Classic scale. He's measuring in at right at 7 inches tall to the top of his ears, so a very large figure overall. Now taking a look at a couple DC Collectibles 7-inch scale Batman compared to our 0-year, and you can see this guy scales pretty well with both these guys. Here's our Batman compared to the DC Collectibles reissued Hush Joker over here on the right, and the Joker from this wave we previously reviewed from the Multiverse line. And you can see this guy scales pretty close to Batman, but definitely the 7-inch scales more in line. And lastly, from smallest to biggest, we have our 6-inch scale Kylo Ren from the Black Series over here on the left, and our Marvel Diamond Select Thor over here on the right. And wrapping up here real quickly, overall I gotta say I think this is my favorite DC Multiverse 6-inch scale figure so far from this new line, but I don't know if that says a whole lot for the figure itself. I think Mattel did some great things with this figure. I love the fact that they actually changed this hip articulation on this figure and you don't have the gaping crotch. I think that was a huge improvement. Hopefully we'll see that on more figures from them. I like the fact that they hinged the hands as well, but the lack of articulation in the head, the lack of double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, and an ankle pivot really present real problems, especially when posing the figure, and especially with the weight of the cape pulling back on the figure as well. And this is where I really can't give points to Mattel. It was fine with the DC Universe Classics. That line is old now and a little outdated, you know, and those were a fine bunch of figures, but Mattel really needs to move up, you know, if they're going to compete with Hasbro and some of the others now, you know, NECA and everything hitting as well. I think they really have to step up their game and give us a little more articulation, because we're not getting a huge amount of sculpting. The sculpt basically on this figure is pretty plain. You know, there is the detail in the ribbing and stuff and some of the textures, and I think they did a great job on the boots, especially with the laces and everything. But overall, it's still a simplistic sculpt, you know, especially when you look at the face and everything. And I'm not going to really knock off for that. That's fine. It worked perfectly for the figure. It looks good. And then when you look at paint, you know, the colors they used actually pop as well. The purple and the yellow and the gray and the black all came out nice. And I love the attention of the silver paint apps down here on the boots. But the fact that they gave us these, but yet gave us no age or wear around these pouches, and these look very cheaply painted on with the yellow, really take away from the figure overall. So with everything said, I really can't rate the figure a buy. If you're a huge fan of the DC Universe Classics, and you know you're not expecting much improved over that line, then this figure probably will fit in okay for you. It is a little taller than scale, but I think it is still fudge in, you know, and be okay in your line. You know, if you're looking for a great 6-inch Batman figure, this is probably going to disappoint a little bit. You know, it just doesn't meet the standards I have for articulation, and with some of the sloppy paint apps as well and the missteps, you know, with the painting, they also take away from the figure. The lack of a decent accessory, the gun just really didn't hit the mark for me, and I'm not a huge fan of the Build-A-Figure as well. You know, again, I just can't really rate the figure a buy. That's wrapping up my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If so, please give me a big thumbs up. Facebook, Twitter, Toy Art links in the description below as always. I thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you hadn't, and we'll see you soon. We have our 6-inch Kylo skin.